George Takei is back out in the media again, and there's like this graphic memoir with like a giant rainbow on the cover of it. It's just super cringy. Of course, he has to go out and make a cringy interview about it, which shows just like the left's complete hypocrisy and just how they're completely fabricated. They don't even know what they're saying. They just make emotional appeals at you in order to just be outraged at whatever they're outraged at in the moment. There's no values behind it. There's no consistency behind it. And calling Trump a Klingon and saying Klingons are a great threat to a more enlightened society is quite a weird take from him, given how the left has been trying to brand that, not all of a certain race, like all this time, and trying to call you racist if you think orcs are bad. It's interesting right here. It's such a hypocritical rant, and we'll get into this in just a moment. And it's also like this whole deal, the whole way that he acts is 100% paid. He's a paid influencer, and a lot of people have forgotten this. One of my viewers here actually sent me an article the other day before I even saw this comment by George Takei about just how bad the paid influencing is. And it goes so far, like the media is really, 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 really fake. That's why we do what we do here. That's why we call this out. It's super important. And so we got a lot to talk about in this video today. Thank you guys for being here. Please hit the like and subscribe button as I, pull the mask back on the media and, of course, try to change the culture in the process. In science fiction and fantasy, that's what we're all about here, and I appreciate you being here. I'm a science fiction writer myself. If you like my thoughts, I would love for you to check out my fiction. Not only am I just talking about what's going on in the media, I'm creating on a regular basis, and we need to create. We need to make a parallel economy here. So this is a beautiful thing. If you like the whole concept of Star Trek space opera, beautiful sweeping galaxy where there's like strange worlds and aliens that you have to deal with and navigate the politics of those whole systems, this is a really good thing, and you're going to love it. It's a full trilogy. You can grab it in the description below. Start here with The Stars Entwined. It's only $4.99 for the first ebook, and of course, if you have an Audible credit, you can get that on audio as well. It's available in all kinds of formats. I'm writing a new space exploration series that's going to dovetail out of this, and it's really good stuff. So get in here, guys. Read this today. Thank you guys for reading and supporting, of course, different visions, because that's what we need to do if we're going to actually change the culture. And reading's where it's at. That's what so much of our society is illiterate right now, and that's what leads to people like George Takei. So yes, he went into the LA Times to talk about his new memoir, and of course, if you listen to the background of the new memoir or whatever, it's a graphic biography. It's all about just like America bad. I was in Japanese internment camps. Feel bad for me. And now I'm gay and I'm oppressed. Feel bad for me. And that's the whole message. Now, nobody's oppressed, especially George Takei is not oppressed. He actually makes his entire living off of just paid promotional posts through the media, and that's what he does. And so he's been held up as an influencer because he's a gay Japanese man. He makes millions of dollars because he's a gay Japanese man. It's quite the opposite. He's been given a life of luxury, and then he acts like he's some sort of oppressed victim. And it's the victim Olympics that we see all the time. This happens way too much. Now, the statements here, again, as we get into it, are going to be just ridiculous, but we have to actually go and show just how much of a paid influencer these people are. This is actually from 7+ years ago. This started a huge controversy back in the day, if you don't remember it. And here it is. George Takei sheds light on the murky world of pay to promote news. What's happened is these media companies go and they pay and promote different deals in different influencers and the like. So when you see George Takei posting this, this random left-wing blog over and over and over again that's attacking Donald Trump, it's not organic. He's not just liking their talking points. He's not just thinking they're making great points. He's paid to do so. This happens on the right too, by the way. A lot of the bigger influencers do the same thing. I've seen it. But it's much more prevalent on the left because the left has all these celebrity accounts that have millions of followers to be able to do this with. And we saw this big time in the election. You saw Mark Hamill was very clearly paid by the Democrats. LeVar Burton from Star Trek was actually paid to go out to Pennsylvania to go campaign for Kamala Harris at the very end of it. And that came out towards close to the election as well. And of course, Stephen King is another one that I'm very, very certain that these are all paid influencers. Now, the way that they post is just completely inorganic. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And when this came out, and they were showing what George Takei's pay rates were for a lot of these articles to get posted, what it stirred up for a little bit on the left was they were getting mad because the people who actually wrote the articles were getting paid less than George Takei to promote them, and that's because the clicks that he'd generate were far more than the clicks conflicts that the writer would generate themselves. But the writers were pissed about that because they're like, I do the hard work. I get paid less than this guy who's just like, actor, and he doesn't have anything to do with this. It created a little bit of a stir for a little bit, but people quickly forgot it. And so, like, this didn't even become a media cycle. I mean, I really think that these paid influencers on the left need to be exposed more for what they're doing. And of course, that's why we're here to do this. I'm not getting paid to do so. I'm just a guy who is blacklisted from all of these institutions right here for calling it out and for noticing what's happening here. Now, the only reason that this came out again was not just because like people were outraged at the fact that all their media is fake and that all these actors were just paid. And of course, they're actors, right? They read scripts. That's what they've always done for a living. So this makes a lot of sense that they're doing so in the political arena as well. And, he's actually said at points that, there's SEC violations all up and down the board here, and there probably would be. There's a lot of election interference that goes on here that again, is not legal under, just different election laws. And, of course, nobody's going to look into it because free speech, right? The Republicans are not willing to actually do what it takes and do what it needs to shut this kind of thing down. And it is disingenuous and it is false advertising, because if these guys are presenting themselves like it is like just organic and it's just their opinions and it's all that and they are getting paid, that needs to be shown. And if all political ads, they have the paid for by the Donald Trump campaign, right? And so it's like you have to do that on the flip side. But like with this kind of thing, they just skirt the law with these influencers right here. This only came out, like I said, if you look at the top of this, and these media companies ended their paid promotion with him because there was a claim of sexual assault against George Takei. Gay sexual assault sort of thing. And because of that, that's why it came out. That's the only reason it came out, was that. It was not that people were outraged at paid promotional and things like that. It's only because he was found out, because these media companies ended their partnerships because of the sexual assault situation that this even came to light in the first place. So now he's back at it again. Like I said, he's going to the LA Times and he's doing this right here. And if you look at what he says about Donald Trump here, I mean, it's just very crazy. We have an egocentric monster in office, says Takei, raising his voice to the interviewer. Now the LA Times reported that he raised his voice. So this is just a little nutty. He's power crazy. And now he's causing all sorts of outrageous inhumanity. It's beyond injustice. It's inhumanity. And this is exactly what they've always tried to do. Anybody who disagrees with them politically or anything like that, they want to brand as inhuman so that they can, of course, do terrible things to us. Get us fired from our jobs, etc. Because if we're not human, we don't have human rights, right? And so this is what the left always does 100% of the time. Just completely mask off about how just gross and insidious they are. We're going through this again, the same thing we went through when we were artificially categorized as enemy alien in 1942. So you see, I'm a victim from a Japanese internment camps. Yes, please clap. So this is where it gets really interesting, because this is where he goes off the rails to a point where it just shows that they don't have any standards, any morals, and hypocrisy. It's just about targeting and destroying certain people, right? Klingons are a great threat to the more enlightened society who see diversity as their strength. We've got to be rid of him. So the implication is Donald Trump is a Klingon and a Klingon president, and Klingons are bad guys, right? Well, wait a minute. You just branded an entire race bad guys while you're talking about this, quote, race thing above. You actually are racist, right? This is where it gets kind of crazy. Now, so an enlightened society who can see diversity, but we don't want the Klingons in our diversity, right? So you see that diversity is not actually diversity as well, because if diversity was a good thing, and if enlightened societies embraced diversity, they'd embrace Klingon culture as well, wouldn't they? And this is where it all starts to fall apart for the left. Like I said, it's always just emotional reactions with these people, and this is no different right here. This is a really, really just like fascinating case study. And so if you think about what the left's done with their messaging over the last several years, remember how they've changed orcs in Rings of Power and the like, because we can't just say that orcs are bad guys, and they do that in Dungeons and Dragons too. The orcs, they make a big stink in the new Dungeons and Dragons saying not all orcs are bad people. When you try to make your villains, make sure it says orc thieves, so it's not all orcs. And George Takei just did this to Klingons, right? And so it's quite the opposite. But moreover, if you think about it, Klingons in Star Trek culture are presented as placing honor above all else. Even in the movies, Takei shared when he became captain of the USS Excelsior in Star Trek VI, the Federation was helping honorable Klingons build peace against subversive internal agents of a deep state within the Federation who wanted endless war. pretty interesting on that level, right? So when you're making this kind of comparison right here, you are kind of tacitly admitting that the protests in LA and all that are just agitators that are paid, and they're part of the deep state who want endless war and want endless division. It's double points again because the Klingons were originally made to be an allegory for the Soviet Union and Russia, which is an apt metaphor for needing peace in our time and not escalating into World War III. Interesting stuff right there, as it kind of like, shows, George Takei in just defaulting to this with his emotions shows kind of his mentality of what he actually believes here. And this shows that, like, it is a pretty apt metaphor in a lot of ways. So I've talked about them not judging a single race as all monsters and things like that, which is something, and even the LA Times called them out in the interview here. They said the depictions of Klingons have shifted over the years, but it's clear Takei is invoking a more brutal and prideful authoritarian version introduced in the original series in the 1960s, and Roddenberry's more idyllic vision of the future, humanity's strength and its diversity. So they swept for him, and they made sure to clarify for him, not what he said, but trying to say, look, these Klingons were actual monsters, but the new Klingons aren't. But again, they talk about humanity's strength and its diversity. But again, like they show that real diversity doesn't actually matter to them, and they don't actually want that. They just want their way 100% of the time. And you can see how nasty they get, like saying inhumanity, inhuman. They really hate us. They want us dead, and that's where they're at this point. And it's mask off. The George Takei really just showed exactly how bad it is with Hollywood, with all these people. And again, it's not even organic. This is all paid promotion. He's paid to do this. He is a bad actor, and it's all come out before. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Please hit the like and subscribe button. What an interesting topic today. Share this, guys, because we're dealing with some things over here. We need to get this information out, and and if you share this across your social medias, let people know what's going on. This is a good primer for just like the way that the left thinks, and that people need to see at this point. Check out my science fiction, The Stars Entwine, if you like my thoughts. I really think you're going to enjoy this, guys. I work really, really hard for science fiction, and I've been doing this for a lot of years, and it all starts here. This is a great book for you to start reading. It's in the description below. I've got a bunch of other links too if you want to support our channel, support our artistic efforts, because we got an uphill battle. They've got their whole paid promotions and all that, and we're going at it independently. There's no media on our side doing anything on this level. It's really a lot that we have to fight against, and the fight all begins right here. Thanks, guys, for being here. Hit the like and subscribe button. We'll be back soon.